Johnny Lindbergh, the runner-up in Florida, John Force. He was the runner-up in Las Vegas. He, of course, races for Jim Head. He's taking on the 16-time champion in his 34th event here in Phoenix. 33 consecutive top 10 finishes and looking like a car that could be a threat to win here in Arizona today. Oh, hold on. Thank goodness it comes to a stop finally. As John Force exploded a car, that put him in the path of Johnny Lindbergh. And from that moment forward and for a long time, simply hold on tight. Good to see some arms flailing underneath the parachute that looks to be shrouded over the top of Johnny Lindbergh. Johnny climbs out. Meanwhile, they're attending to John Force right now. Tony Schumacher, I don't know how many times we've held our breath with you in these moments. Memphis comes to mind.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable. This was a big explosion. I couldn't tell if he had any control after it blew off the ground, because that was a big move. It come across, and when it hit Lindbergh's car, when the parachutes get tangled up, and they're just wrapped up. You got all these monsters with no bodies on them now, just pulling each other around with absolutely no control. But just want to see some movement from Johnny here.
No reason for any speculation. We're going to step away, let the men and women of the N.H.R.A Safety Safari, our first responders, do their due diligence. When we come back, we will update the conditions of both John Force and Johnny Lindbergh following a very scary funny car incident round 2 in Arizona. For John Force, as we welcome you back to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park and the N.H.R.A All Access Arizona Nationals. Those 2 explosions and subsequent crashes coming at the season opening Winter Nationals 2 weeks ago and then just a few moments ago. Conscious and alert, the N.H.R.A Safety Safari did take a lengthy amount of time making sure we got the 16-time champ out. He's being transported for observation to a local hospital. Here is why that is. John Force right side, big explosion. And from there, Tony Betterguy just got to ride this one out.
Well, John's hanging on. He's collected Johnny Lindbergh. Grabbed a hold of his parachutes, and John's getting really beat around. Now, there are a lot of safety measures in that chassis. There's a form-fitted seat, but the damage starts early. Take a look at that raw fuel coming out of the pipe right at the step. A second one went out. Now, what John did in the seat was not anything that any other driver wouldn't have done. Take a look at this raw fuel. On the other side, it was a V8 that was transformed into a V6. Now, that puts a lot of stress internally on the parts. Now, what happened was when the engine blew up, the concussion was so big that it turns the car and repositions it, and that is the reason that it goes into Johnny Lindbergh's lane.
Courtney very concerned, Brittany as well. The top end, they were there as the N.H.R.A Safety Safari was extricating John. Don Schumacher, a lot of concern. After all, he is funny cars winningest guy. And he's the reason the category is what it is today. The 8-time top fuel champion Tony Schumacher continues observation and conversation with us.
Courtney, we saw Brittany come over to you prior to the run and have a conversation with you. What did she say to you?
She's telling me to just get in that car, be focused, and she said, if anything goes wrong, you don't have to drive it down there. And, thankfully I've got an amazing team with Advanced Auto Parts, with my crew chiefs, Karate and Hood. They gave me the option to not even take that car down there, but I told them I was ready, I was going to be okay, I can get back in it. It's tough seeing something like that happen to my dad. I hate it. I chose this driver's seat knowing that these things can happen in these race cars. They're pretty unpredictable. My dad told me as they were taking them off to get checked, he told me go out there and kick their asses. So that's what we're going to do for Peak, for Monster, for Auto Club, for Chevy, and for Advanced Auto Parts. So hopefully we make it a long day.
Courtney, I'd almost call that toughness personified. Just exactly how do you get back in a funny car 2 pairs later?
Well, like I said, that these cars are unpredictable, and you just kind of have to suck it up and get over it and just know your car. If anything goes wrong, it doesn't feel right, you got to get out of it. Unfortunately, with Dad's case, it happened in the lights, so there wasn't really anything he could do, but kind of hold on and just get that car stopped. I'm glad to see that Lindbergh's okay. My dad was talking, yelling, screaming, so I know that he'll be all right. Going to go check on him in a little bit, but we got a semifinal round to win, and hopefully he's watching because we're going to go out there and do the best we can.
Worry, day where it has not been kind to the Force family. This explosion on February 9th put John Force in the hospital. This crash on February 11th put Brittany in the hospital. Stop me if you've heard it. This crash earlier today has sent John Force once more to the hospital for observation. Conscious and alert, he is okay. It was Courtney that was most visibly shaken, though, by this incident. She was able to put it back together, take a round win against Matt Hagan, and now she gets a single into the final. So your thoughts, Tony, as she goes into the right lane here?
Well, Dave, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot of physical stress. It's a lot of mental stress, and it never gets any easier. And, you know, Courtney Federley, who was one of the tuners for John Force Racing for a lot of years, told me when I started driving for John that if you do this long enough, it's going to happen. So we all understand the element of danger. Where Courtney Force is at right now is, you know, it could almost seem numbing. I almost got a little emotional when she got emotional watching her dad getting hauled off again. But right now, when she's in this race car, I believe that she's able to focus. She's surrounded by good people, and she knows what she has to do in front of her.
Starting line rate goes full 3.938 seconds. We'll see how that stacks up in just a minute. But as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's former Top Fuel Dragster crew chief Brian N.H.R.A that now calls the shots. He is the subject of our Evans Crew Chief Confidential report. An incident eerily reminiscent to the one September 23rd, 2007 in Dallas, running alongside of Kenny Bernstein. It appears that John's car crosses over. Well, most of the car does. John wasn't in that wreckage. He was back up against the outside retaining wall. Big-time injuries there. Today, though, faring much better, staying with the car after this explosion crossing in front of Johnny Lindbergh.
Well, Dave, a big difference since the 07 accident is that the lower frame rail on the funny car chassis is much stronger to prevent the frame from breaking in that driver area. And to some degree, those rear Goodyear slicks do provide some protection.
A quick update on John Force. There's no official statement yet. I spoke with GM Kelly Antonelli, who said that John is still undergoing testing at the hospital. But we are in the pits of Courtney Force, who is headed to her first final here in Phoenix. And I asked Courtney if she's settled down since her dad's crash. She said she's only focused on those win lights and knows she has to put it out of her mind. Courtney has been in 8 finals since her last win at Houston in 2016 and has been the runner-up in each. If she is to get it done here today, she's up against Tommy Johnson Jr., who has lane choice.
The car you hear roaring is immediately to her right. It's Tommy Johnson Jr. The Make-A-Wish guys have been patiently waiting. Now 2 cars roar to life. It's the first ever final round between the Advanced Auto Parts driver and the Make-A-Wish driver. Her 300th round of racing. She looks to end a 43-race winless streak, 0-8 in final round since her last race win, with a lot on her mind. Dealing with the after effects of her sister Brittany's crash 2 weeks ago, and now dad into the wall, visibly upset after this, but getting back into the car, doing a great job of dispensing Matt Hagan in round number 2, and now here she sits with an opportunity to salvage the weekend for John Force, who sits in a hospital as we race.
A lot of emotion that Courtney Force has had to go through, but she's held it together. She's held it together well. She finds herself in the final round, saving the best for last. Right now, in terms of performance, Tommy Johnson didn't really impress. He got to the finish line first in the first and the second round, but what they did in the semifinal matters most. For both of these teams, they're looking at good conditions. They saw the pro stock cars directly in front of them perform well, run a little bit quicker. The racetrack should be there. Right now, it's all up to these tuners, all up to those drivers in the seat.
Tuners, John Collins for TJ, Brian N.H.R.A, Daniel Hood for Courtney Force. The winless streak is over. Courtney Force saves the day for John Force Racing. And take a look at the speed, 337.16 miles an hour. stunning performance. And in the process, she becomes the 21st funny car race winner here at Wild Horse Pass, while giving Brian Karate his 5th win as a funny car crew chief. Not
I think deep down inside, Courtney Force understands that this is going to be some good medicine for everything that's happened today.
as the hat comes off, that yellow hat that Amanda Busick told us about earlier goes on. Courtney Force is a national event winner. We will hear from her in just a moment as she composes her thoughts. Meanwhile, let's hear from Brian Karate with Bruno.
Brian, what an emotional day and what an impressive run. Before that round, when Courtney had to climb after watching her dad crash, I asked you, is she going to race? And you looked at me and said, she's going to do it. How impressed are you with this team and with that driver you've got?
No, she's tough. You know, me, I probably would have bowed out, you know, but that's me. The Force family, they really got some grit. You know what? To watch John, watch his kids race these cars, and that impresses the hell out of me. You know, and that's why I'm over here. I'm really impressed with John Force's racing operation. So, great job for Advanced Auto Team. We kicked some butt. Ran a little better than I hoped, but that's all right. We knew we had a heavy hitter over there with Tommy, so thank God. John should be happy with that trophy, too.
Brian, what you do is pretty impressive as well. Amanda's down with Courtney Force.
Courtney, your crew chief just said that the Force family has grit. It has been a tough start to 2018 for your family. What do you draw on for strength?
Honestly, today I drew on the words that my dad told me. He said, go out there and kick their asses. And then he told me right before that round, he goes, you know what? I want you to go out there and win, but if you don't, who cares? And that kind of motivation, the support that I have behind me with these guys on the Advanced Auto Parts team, my sponsors, Chevy, Peak, Auto Club, Monster Energy, every single one of those guys, Parker Stores, I mean, every sponsor that we have allows us to come out here, do what we love, and honestly, it's a risk in these cars, and we're well aware of that, but I'm really glad that my dad's okay, I'm glad that Lindbergh's okay, and I'm glad that we had a fast hot rod all day thanks to Karate, Hood, and all my Advanced Auto Parts guys. This feels good. It's been a long time, but this one definitely means a lot. Bringing this one to my dad, and I wish he was out here. I know he'd be running up here hugging me right now, but I'm going to go find him and give him this one. This is definitely for all of JFR.